You know, when we picture a courtroom, we think of this, sanctuary of order, a place where conflicts get sorted out with sharp arguments, not with brute force. But for a lawyer, it's more than that. It's our stage. It's a battlefield of intellect where the rules are everything. But what happens when that sanctuary gets violated? Today, we're diving into a case that reveals a pretty terrifying breakdown right in the halls of justice. And it all starts with a chilling account from someone who was right there in the middle of it.
This one quote, man, it just hits you right in the gut. It perfectly captures our story today. It's about that horrifying moment when the promise of safety, the one thing a court is supposed to guarantee, just evaporates, leaving a lawyer and her client completely exposed in the one place they should have been the most protected.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The date is January 18th, 2024. We're at the Chuncheon District Court. Now, for any lawyer, walking into a courthouse is a ritual. You're carrying the entire weight of your client's future on your shoulders, and your only weapons are facts and the law. You were trained for conflict, right? But it's supposed to be an intellectual fight. You expect things to get tense, for sure, but you rely on this unspoken promise of order, of security, of the rule of law. Well, on this particular day, that promise was about to be completely shattered.
So what brought them to court? The context here is absolutely critical. This was not some simple disagreement. The lawyer was representing an elderly woman named Kang against her very own son, Kim. And their legal history? It was already a powder keg. We're talking a restraining order, serious accusations of elder abuse, the whole 9 yards. As a lawyer stepping into that, you know it's a volatile situation. But you trust the courthouse. You trust it to be the one safe, neutral place where these explosive emotions can be contained.
And this is where a totally routine day just descends into an absolute nightmare. We're going to walk through exactly what happened minute by minute. As we do, I really want you to try and put yourself in that room. Imagine you're the lawyer and you're responsible not just for your own safety, but for this terrified elderly client sitting right next to you.
So at 2:35 p.m., the lawyer and her client walk in. Just 1 minute later, the son follows them. And here's the first major red flag. The courtroom is totally empty. No security guards, no staff, nobody. He immediately launches into this tirade, screaming, making threats. All the lawyer and her client can do is sit there and wait, just hoping the judge shows up and puts a stop to it. But 2:40, the scheduled hearing time, it comes and goes, still nobody. The room is empty except for them and their tormentor. Finally, at 2:44, the son leaves, and just 1 minute after that, the judge finally walks in. For 9 terrifying minutes, they were completely alone.
9 minutes. You know, it might not sound like a long time, but 9 minutes is an eternity when you're cornered. It's 9 minutes of a lawyer having to become a human shield for her client. It's 9 minutes where every legal principle, every law book, every bit of faith you have in the system gives you absolutely zero protection. It was 9 minutes where, like the quote said, the law was on the door, but it was nowhere to be found inside the room.
So what happens next? After this ordeal, the lawyer does what any good lawyer would do. She moves to preserve the evidence. Her entire profession is built on evidence, on proof. She formally protested to the judge, she filed complaints, she needed to prove what had just happened.
And of course, there's an obvious source of evidence here, right? The complaint even notes there was a CCTV camera right there in the courtroom. It saw everything. Or did it? Because this is the exact moment the story shifts from a failure of a few people to a failure of the entire system. The lawyer did everything by the book. She followed procedure perfectly. She immediately filed a formal motion with the court to get that video footage. This was going to be the undeniable proof of the threats, the abuse, and the court's complete failure to keep them safe. And this is the response she got. The camera had no recording function. Just let that sink in for a second. The main security device, in a room designed to handle society's most intense disputes, was, and I'm quoting the complaint here, useless. It was a dummy camera. It was just a piece of security theater that offered no actual security at all. Unbelievable. This single discovery just transforms the whole incident, right? This is no longer about one guy's violent outburst or a judge who is running late. The complaint argues that this is now an indictment against the state itself for failing in its most fundamental duty, to provide a safe place for justice to happen.
And this contrast really gets to the heart of the whole complaint. On one side, you've got the state's clear legal duty. It's written right into the Court Organization Act that they have to provide security in every court. But on the other side, you have the reality of what happened that day. No security, a useless camera, and a lawyer and her client just left completely abandoned.
It is a shocking, shocking gap between what's promised and what was delivered.
So this one incident pulls back the curtain on a much larger systemic risk. This isn't just about one lawyer's terrifying experience. It's really about the safety of every single legal professional. And by extension, it's about the integrity of our entire justice system.
Here's why this is such a huge deal. Lawyers are officers of the court. We are a fundamental piece of the machinery of justice. And if we can't do our jobs without fearing for our physical safety inside a courthouse, well, that machine grinds to a halt. Justice demands fearless advocacy, and you simply cannot have fearless advocacy without safety. It's impossible.
So why should this matter to everyone, not just lawyers? Because good lawyers are the ones who step up to take on the toughest cases. We're talking domestic violence, elder abuse, child custody battles. If lawyers have to start weighing their own physical safety against taking on a case, who's going to be left to represent the most vulnerable people in our society? It destroys our trust that courts are safe places, and it sends a horrible message to victims that the system might not be able to protect them either.
And really, we end with this question. This wasn't just some security lapse. It was a betrayal of the fundamental promise of our legal system. It forces all of us to ask, when the very people whose job it is to uphold the law are left unprotected within its walls, how can any of us truly feel safe?